Did you know that in 2020, two men digging for mammoth tusks in Siberia found the actual face of a saber-toothed cat? Not a drawing, not a bone. A face, frozen, mid-snarl, whiskers and all, belonging to a predator that hasn't existed for 32,000 years. That's where today's list starts. 8 prehistoric animals, pulled whole out of the ice, and some of what was found inside them is stranger than anything a horror movie could invent. Let's start with that face. Number 8. The cub was found along the Budyarka River, barely 3 weeks old. Fully grown, she would have weighed up to 200 kilograms, roughly the size of a modern lion, but built for a completely different kind of hunt. Scientists sat on this discovery for 4 years before they said a word. In 2024, they finally confirmed it. The first mummified remains of a saber-toothed cat ever found anywhere on Earth, not a relative. The real thing, Homotherium latiedens, a scimitar-toothed cat that vanished from Siberia roughly 32,000 years ago. Here's the part that should unsettle you. Researchers laid the cub next to a modern lion cub of the exact same age, and the differences were immediate. A neck twice as thick, front legs built for a flat-out sprint, ears far smaller than expected, a jaw that opened wider than any living cat's, and a coat colored almost pure black. Nothing like the sandy tone scientists had always assumed. Her saber teeth hadn't even grown in yet, but researchers now suspect that even as an adult, those blades stayed hidden beneath thick lips until the moment she struck. For the first time in the history of paleontology, humans were looking at what an extinct predator actually looked like, not a reconstruction. Her face, and she's not even the strangest thing pulled out of the Siberian ice this decade.
Frozen babies of various animals and a lot of mammoth remains.
Number 7. 2 wolf pups, found 4 years apart, 7 meters underground near the Siberian village of Tumat. Scientists call them the Tumat puppies. They were litter mates, buried together when their den likely collapsed roughly 14,400 years ago. Their skin survived. Their fur survived. One was even found frozen mid-snarl, teeth bared, exactly as she died. But the real discovery wasn't on the outside, it was inside her stomach. Researchers found a chunk of undigested meat still wrapped in blonde hair, sitting there as if she'd swallowed it minutes earlier instead of over 14,000 years ago. DNA testing traced the tissue to a woolly rhinoceros, an animal many times the puppy's size. Her gut also held bird feathers, plant matter, and even part of a dung beetle, a full snapshot of the last meal she ever ate. And get this, in January of 2026, scientists used that stomach content to reconstruct the rhino's entire genome, the first time anyone has ever rebuilt an extinct animal's DNA from inside another extinct animal's gut. There's still a mystery nobody's solved, though. Was this puppy a wild wolf that scavenged a rhino carcass? Or an early tamed dog, fed scraps by humans butchering mammoths in the same valley? Scientists still can't say for certain. What they do know is that this wasn't the only frozen wolf pup to surprise them in the last decade. Number 6. A gold miner in Canada's Yukon was blasting a wall of frozen mud with a water cannon in July of 2016, when part of that wall didn't just melt. It moved. What emerged was a wolf pup so complete that scientists could still see the tiny ridges on her tongue. She measured barely 42 centimeters nose to tail and weighed less than a modern house cat. Her name, Jur, means wolf in the language of the local hen people, who worked with researchers on the discovery and now display her at a nearby interpretive center. She died 57,000 years ago, likely just 7 weeks old when her den caved in around her. Her claws survived, her whiskers survived, her internal organs survived, everything except her eyes. When researchers ran isotope tests on her hair and teeth, they expected to find bison or musk ox, the usual diet for an Ice Age wolf. Instead, they found salmon. Jur had been eating fish, pulled from a river that still runs through the Yukon today. Nobody expected an Ice Age predator to be living off a spawning run like a modern grizzly bear. So what happens when scientists stumble onto a creature nobody even knew existed, let alone expected to find frozen solid? Number 5. In the fall of 2014, a hunter named Alexander Banderov was sailing down a Siberian river when he spotted hair sticking out of a frozen bank. He assumed it was a reindeer, since only tufts of hair were showing above the ice. He was wrong. Locked in the frozen riverbank was a baby woolly rhinoceros, the first one ever discovered in the history of paleontology, a species scientists had only ever pieced together from adult bones. Scientists named her Sasha, after the man who found her. She was barely a year and a half old when she died, roughly 34,000 years ago, and her midsection had already been eaten by scavengers before Banderov got to her. But her head survived almost untouched. Her eye, her ear, her nostrils, her mouth, all still there, wrapped in thick, pale wool. That color surprised researchers the most. Every adult woolly rhino ever recovered had coarse, dark brown fur. Sasha's was a soft, strawberry blonde. To this day, scientists still don't know if she was male or female. What they do know is that before Sasha turned up, nobody on Earth had ever seen what a baby woolly rhino actually looked like. The next discovery on this list didn't just answer one mystery, it created two. Number 4. 15 meters. That's all that separated two frozen cave lion cubs discovered along Russia's Semyolyak River, found a year apart by the same licensed tusk hunter, Boris Berezhnev, in 2017 and 2018. Scientists assumed right away that the cubs were siblings, buried together in the same collapse. They were wrong. Radiocarbon dating told a very different story. The cubs, later named Sparta and Boris, had died more than 15,000 years apart. Boris lived over 43,000 years ago. Sparta lived roughly 28,000 years ago. Two different lion families, two different centuries of Ice Age Siberia, buried 15 meters apart by pure coincidence. Sparta's body is considered the best preserved Ice Age animal ever recovered. Whiskers intact, skin intact, organs sitting exactly where they should be. Cave lions like her were bigger than any lion alive today, apex predators that stalked reindeer, horses, and young mammoths across a landscape with nothing above them on the food chain. Now, scientists studying her tissue are asking a question that would have sounded like science fiction 20 years ago. Could an animal extinct for 10,000 years be brought back? Number 3. In May of 2007, a reindeer herder named Yuri Kuti was walking along Siberia's Urabay River when he found a baby mammoth lying on a sandbar. So complete, she looked like she'd simply fallen asleep. He named her Lyuba, after his wife. She's still considered the most perfectly preserved mammoth mummy ever recovered. Her eyes, her trunk, and most of her fur intact, just over a month old when she died 42,000 years ago. But her story gets darker before it gets scientific. Kuti didn't move her body. He left to find help. By the time he came back, Lyuba was gone. She turned up days later, propped against a stranger's house, quietly bartered away for 2 snowmobiles and a year's worth of food. Dogs had already gnawed off her ear and part of her tail before police finally stepped in. Scientists later solved her original death. Thick sediment was found packed into her trunk, her mouth, and her windpipe. She had suffocated in mud, likely while trying to drink. Her mother's milk was still sitting in her stomach when they found her. Healthy and well-fed, she'd been nowhere near starving. She simply picked the wrong spot to drink. The next mammoth on this list wasn't nearly so lucky in how she died, but what came out of her body changed mammoth science forever. Number 2. Tusk hunters had already found plenty of mammoths in Siberia by 2010. Nothing prepared them for this one. A young female they named Yuka. For over a decade, she held the title of Best Preserved Mammoth Ever Found, and when researchers pressed into her tissue, liquid blood came out. Not powder, not residue, actual blood flowing from an animal that died roughly 39,000 years ago, the only time in recorded history anyone has pulled flowing blood from a woolly mammoth. But that's not even the strangest part of Yuka's story. What killed her reads less like a biology report and more like a 39,000-year-old crime scene. Claw marks across her legs and underside point to the first attacker, cave lions. But then someone else got to the body. A meter-long incision runs straight down her spine. Cuts circle both eye sockets, precise, deliberate. Nothing an animal's teeth or claws could produce. Scientists tested the marks against tools that existed 39,000 years ago and confirmed it. Human hands made those cuts. Somebody found Yuka's body, likely after the lions had already killed her and carved her up for meat. That makes this the oldest known evidence of humans in the Arctic, pushing back the timeline of when people reached this far north by thousands of years. And in a lab in Japan, scientists have already coaxed a flicker of biological activity out of cell nuclei taken straight from her tissue, a small but very real step toward a question researchers are now taking seriously. Could we bring her species back? Number 1. In 2002, researchers pulled a chunk of frozen soil out of a squirrel's burrow buried nearly 40 meters beneath the Siberian permafrost near the Kolyma River. Inside it were microscopic worms, so small you'd need a microscope just to see them move. In 2018, scientists added water to that ancient soil, and the worms started moving. After years of testing, a 2023 study confirmed exactly how long they'd been frozen: 46,000 years. Not hibernating, not dormant for a season, completely suspended, no heartbeat, no metabolism, nothing, for 46,000 years, before scientists accidentally woke them back up. Within days, they were eating. Within weeks, they were reproducing. Since this species doesn't even need a mate, researchers named them Panagrolimus kolymaensis, and their descendants are still alive today in labs, hundreds of generations removed from a worm that was frozen while Neanderthals still walked the earth. Nobody knew this species existed until the moment it woke back up, which leaves one question that actually matters as Siberia's permafrost keeps melting faster every single year. What else is still down there, waiting? From a saber-toothed cat nobody had ever seen alive to worms that slept through 46,000 years without a single heartbeat, the ice has been keeping better records than we ever gave it credit for. Every one of these animals was fully preserved by pure accident, and every one of them was found by ordinary people, herders and hunters and miners, just going about their day. With the permafrost thawing faster every year, this list almost certainly isn't finished. So if any of these got under your skin, make sure you're subscribed, because the ground in Siberia is still melting, and it's still giving things back.